Okay, we're going to change things up. After all, we are reviving retro, right? And retro does not just mean Commodore Amigas, TRS-80s. Some of you already know that I also collect classic muscle cars and hot rods. So we're going to do a little something with the car stuff this time around. Probably another couple of videos as well, since I have a 56 F100 being fully frame offed right now. So, but what we have here, let's start with this. This is a Bluetooth receiver. It's $13. And what am I doing with it? I happen to have a 61 Impala Bubbletop that has a Classic Sounds USA-230 radio in it. And that radio, a lot of folks might be familiar with, is a resto mod radio. In other words, it looks vintage, but it has modern guts. The problem with the radio, it doesn't have Bluetooth. So I can't stream with my phone wirelessly to the radio. So I wanted Bluetooth because right now that radio has auxiliary inputs. And I have it hardwired. Well, I have RCAs on those inputs going to a plug like this. So this is plugged into the radio, and this long wire is connected to this plug, and I plug this plug into the headphone jack of my phone, and that's how I've been streaming music to the radio for a while now. I've been meaning to do this for quite some time, so I want to eliminate the wire and stream wirelessly, and that's what this is going to allow me to do, stream through Bluetooth. I could have done the cigarette lighter thing with the wire going to the auxiliary jacks, but I didn't want to take the vintage cigarette lighter plug out. I want to leave the dash as vintage as possible so you don't realize, that this has modern equipment. I could have used an FM transmitter and transmitted to the FM on the radio to stream music, but quite honestly, the quality of the sound doing so sucks. I mean, I've tried different models of different things, and this is not good. This is the way to go. The USA-230 model has a Bluetooth adapter for it, and it costs about between 80 and $100, which is completely ridiculous. So thought I'd just do this myself. I can 3D print a case for this, which I'll do, off video, because that's not really the purpose of this. But really, this little device, if you have a USA-230, connects to the auxiliary input of that USA-230, and it allows you to stream Bluetooth. And I'll show you how that works. Very simple. A lot of the hands-free phone devices, because that's the only drawback to this, is it doesn't have hands-free phone on it. But a lot of those devices have outputs that are called line level outputs, and the line level outputs won't work with this radio auxiliary inputs because those line levels are low voltage. They're meant to be put into an amplifier. This radio, the auxiliary plug, it depends on headphone volume going into the auxiliary plugs of this radio. So those low level line input or line output Bluetooth receivers won't work with this radio. This puts out headphone volume. So this will work with the auxiliary plugs of the radio. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to install this. Basically, this works between 5 volts and 12 volts, so you can even use this on 6-volt batteries. So I already have the plug, already put in. Basically, it just pushes in, and these little plugs, you just push them down, and it allows the wires to squeeze in there. The cool thing is this has auxiliary input. These two plugs here are also for auxiliary. One is for auxiliary input, and it has a headphone output. And this also has headphone output volume. And it comes with this wire already, but we're not going to use these. We're going to actually, I already have this in a shorter amount of wire that will allow me to plug this into here using the headphone output, and then I'll plug this into the car stereo. It's easy as that. So the reason we're going to go through this, because that would be the end of the video. Hey, let's attach this to 12 volts, plug this into the headphone output of this, and plug this into the auxiliary inputs of your radio. You're done. But I'm also making this video for those that have a 61, I think a 61 to 64 Impala. How do you get to the radio? How do you get to the wires and all this other stuff? So I'm just going to go through a little bit of that to help the Impala owners out there deal with this. So if you have a USA-230 radio though, $13 on Amazon. I'll leave the link. I'm not affiliated. I'll just leave the link, and that's the way to go. And I'll print a 3D case for this outside this video. It's not the real intent of the video, but so let's go ahead and go to the car and let's show you how this all works, gets hooked up, and yeah, go from there. Turn on garage inside lights. All right. So let me show you what we've got here. This is the 61 Impala, and that's what this is going to be going into. So you can see that's what I've been using, and that's been hooked up to the auxiliary inputs of the radio, and that plugs into my phone. So we're going to get rid of that. Now, some might say, well, why not just get the right radio? Well, this radio is actually pretty decent. It puts out 100 watts. The 61 Impala only has a front speaker and a rear speaker, because you got to remember, back in the day, FM had just come out. So, you know, stereo was kind of like a commodity. But I've replaced the front speaker with a dual cone stereo speaker, and I've also done the same for the back. So this actually does put out stereo front and back. So I don't want to get rid of this radio. These radios aren't cheap. The Chevelle actually has a retro sound radio that has Bluetooth and everything in it. And that also looks vintage. So yeah, I can get a vintage radio, looking radio like this one with Bluetooth, but now I'm looking at $300. So it just seems like a waste to replace that radio. I spent $300 to replace a good functioning radio with a 100-watt output that handles my speakers that are already in there. And again, and I don't want to take out, you know, the lighter plug. I want to keep that. So I don't want to put in one of those Bluetooth lighter plug thingamajiggies and make this car, you know, and take away the spirit of what the car is supposed to look like. So let's go ahead and get this this hooked up in there, and yeah, let me take you through that journey. So if you have a 61, 62, 63 Impala, this might be a cool video for you to see how to get to that radio. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so in order to get to the radio, we have to take out this plastic tub from the glove compartment. Now, there was an aftermarket switch here for a little light in the glove compartment. So I've already taken out the little contact and the plate for it. So I put that aside so it won't get in the way when we take the tub out. So there's a screw there and another screw on this side to the right that we are going to unscrew, and that'll loosen the tub, and we're going to pull the tub from the right hand side. Now it's scrunched in there pretty well, and some tubs have the screws on the top. These two screws on the top are not part of the tub, but some of the glove compartment tubs have screws on the top instead of the sides. So you can get a decent view here. Okay. Now comes the pain in the butt part, because this tub there's a little lip on the top and the bottom here that the tub is slid in. So you kind of have to push the tub towards the back to get it outside of those lips. Alright, you can see now it's coming to slide right out. Alright, you want to be careful not to tear the little light out there. Alright, All right. So now that we've got that taken out, I'll get a flashlight and I'll show you what we've got to work with inside of here. All right, stay tuned. Okay, I don't think I needed the light for this. So basically what I did is this stereo has two auxiliary inputs. They're not low level inputs. You need a little bit of sound coming out of the RCA jacks coming in. They're made mainly for headphone jack type input. So anyways, bottom line is I went ahead and connected RCA cables to it, and I'm going to route it through this hole that's already in the glove compartment. That way I can plug the Bluetooth device onto here, or if I didn't have a Bluetooth device, you can plug your phone, use the auxiliary jack on your phone and plug your phone into here, and that way you get sound off the auxiliary inputs of the stereo. What I'm also going to do, since I'm going to attach a Bluetooth unit rather than putting the U-tooth unit under the dash in here, I'm going to route the positive and negative jacks that I'm going to need to give it power. Since the RCA input's already here, I'm going to route those through this plug, through this hole as well. That way I can just toss the Bluetooth unit in the glove compartment. If I don't want it there in the future, I can always just route the wires out of the hole, you know, and put it behind the dash. But I'm going to put it in the glove compartment for now. So I'm going to put this tub back in the reverse way that I took it out. And yeah, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the tub back in. You can see I got the two RCA plugs from the auxiliary jack of the radio coming through this little hole in the top where that light is. So this way I can keep the Bluetooth unit in the glove compartment. The power leads weren't long enough to route through the hole here to get in here. So, and that's okay. I'll just route the power lines from the Bluetooth device out of this hole and plug it into the connectors that I put on the power lines. So I think we're ready to hook up the Bluetooth device on here. If you didn't have a Bluetooth device, you could run a 3.5 millimeter jack to two RCA plugs. Your 3.5 millimeter jack plugs into your phone, and then the other end plugs into the RCA jacks here. There's adapters that are made that are 3.5 millimeters to two RCA jacks, and that way you don't really need Bluetooth. You can run your phone directly into the stereo through the auxiliary inputs. So it's another way to do it if you didn't want to spend the money on the Bluetooth device, but they're relatively inexpensive, so you know, and it'll eliminate the wire if you do that. So all right, we're ready to put the Bluetooth device on here and you know, see how this goes. So stay tuned. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got these two RCAs are coming from the auxiliary input of the USA-230 radio. I've got the Bluetooth receiver wired in to the plus 12 volts and ground, and I got it wired into the accessory 12 volts. So there's no power going to it unless the car is turned on. And I'm going to use this little plug here. So I'm going to connect the RCA from the radio to here, and this is going to connect to the headphone jack of the Bluetooth receiver. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so that shows the Bluetooth receiver all hooked up, and I will make a 3D box. I will make a box for it with the 3D printer, so that way the electronics, you know, are protected. So anyways, so the last thing we need to do at this point basically is to pair it with our phone and see if it works. So that's how that's going to go. All right, so let's do that next. Okay, so now we're ready to test this thing out. First things first, we got to pair up the Bluetooth device with the phone. So again, it'll only go on because I hooked when the car is on, because I put it on the accessory. All right, so let's pair this up. You only have to do this once. I'm sure you probably already know how this works. Oops. So we're going to look for a device here called DROK BT. Oh, I heard the speakers go. So this is do or die right here, but it looks, sounds, I should say, promising. We'll do some music. Then let's do, there you go. Wirelessly streaming through Bluetooth. No more wires. We get rid of this tangled mess that we have here. So there you go. That's how you do it. You don't need to spend $80 to $100 on a stupid, adapter made by the radio company. You can spend $13 and get yourself streaming right away. Easy peasy. All right. So there you have it. We got tunes wirelessly streaming now. We're stoked. So, like I always say, enjoy life, live for today. And if you don't dig restoring computers, then, go cruising. It's always a fun time. All right. Peace out.